Hi, Jesse Durham here again with another video on becoming your own banker. And here's my question for today. Can I get my money back? Now let's think about this. If we understand that money is simply a means of exchange, meaning that you would take money and buy a car or a house or anything else, but you could also have a house or a car and exchange that for money. So if money is just a means of exchange, and we look at our own personal lives, and again also think about how the natural law is motion in life. Blood circulates through our veins. Water has to circulate through ponds and rivers and such for them to have life there. And everything is in motion. So when we look within our own personal financial footprint at the dollars that come in to our access, however we earn those dollars, whether that's W-2 employee work, whether that's business profits, investments, whatever the case may be, when that money comes in and we designate it to some purpose, some destination to get us something that we're going to consume, to procure something for production purposes, again, whatever the case may be, money is coming in and money is going out. When we look at that and we ask ourselves, okay, who's performing the banking function on that money? Because somebody is, one way or another. Somebody always is. And then also, the next question will be, can I get that back? When I spend the money on something, can I get that back? So let's look at a kernel of corn. Let's say I spent some money to buy a kernel of corn. Now I can take that kernel of corn, put it on a pedestal, put it in a decorative bowl to sit on my dining room table to admire, and it would accomplish nothing there, right? But within itself, it has the ability to be planted and to produce 30-fold, 60-fold, 100-fold on that kernel. Well, isn't that a way to be able to use that kernel, let's say it's money, use that kernel, get that back, and a multiple of that? Now, what if it were guaranteed? That gets even better perhaps than farming, because there are not always guarantees in farming. But in looking at that scenario, the kernel goes out, it gets planted, and then it produces itself back plus extra. Well, let's look at the case of financing a car. Do you have all the money back, any of the money back, from cars that you've purchased in the past? So if you're not in your very first car, and you've already had other vehicles before, do you have any of the dollars that you spent today from buying that vehicle then? Do you have any hope, if you have a vehicle financed right now, or if you had already saved up cash to be able to buy the vehicle that you have now, do you have any hope of getting those dollars back? How about in the future? So again, if we just ask ourselves, what if I could buy all the cars that I'll buy in my lifetime and get those dollars back? And a car is just an example. We could be talking about anything right there. We could be talking about the banking function of anything that we're consuming or producing in life. But what if I could not take any additional risk, not have guarantees, not work any harder, and get these cars that I'm going to get anyway, and the money back as well? Well, that's what we do with a dividend-paying whole life policy with a mutual company, where we're putting ourselves to be in position of the banking function of our lives, where we have that access and that control. We have the benefits of those guarantees. And we could simply take a policy loan that comes directly from the insurance company's general fund account. And that's important to remember, because that means that the premiums that we pay into our policy continue to grow uninterrupted, continue to compound uninterrupted. But we still have access to the cash value today of whatever that may be. And let's say we're financing that vehicle. We go out and we take a policy loan, we buy a vehicle, we make payments to ourselves plus interest, just like we would if we would have financed through a third party. So we get the return of our money. And that's something that Warren Buffett has spoken about. I know that he says, the return of your money is more important than the return on your money. And Also, we get the interest on top of that otherwise would have gone to third-party lenders. And then that's a way for us to be able to recapture those dollars that would have been gone forever. Those monthly payments that we would have been making to somebody else. So we recapture the money and the interest. We keep the vehicles. And then that perpetuates our ability to be able to do that again and again and again for ourselves and maybe even for others. What if our children never had to go and qualify or see if they could qualify for a loan to be able to get a vehicle for themselves? What if we'd already set up a system? And that's the question, right? It's like, do you have a system in place, and are you using the system? If you already have a policy or policies, are you using that system for banking purposes, for the things that you're already doing anyway, so that you could do the things that you're doing anyway and get that back? So that's the thought for the day. Thinking about natural law of motion, thinking about how banks do. Again, we're questioning what commercial banks do, because if it's, they're the nicest buildings in the nicest parts of town. They're opening up branches left and right. If we would position ourselves to become our own bankers, we would have all those benefits, all that control, without working any harder, without taking any additional risk, and we would have all those guarantees and benefits for ourselves and be able to get those dollars back. So that's the answer then, is yes, we can get those dollars back in multiples, just like the bank does. For every dollar deposited into a bank, they could be making anywhere from 400 to 1,300% on every dollar. So I encourage you to keep digging into how you can apply the infinite banking concept as described by R. Nelson Nash in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker, to cover as much of, and of course ultimately all of, your personal financial footprint, whatever that may be. So keep digging, keep learning. I hope this video has been helpful. My name's Jesse Durham. You can reach me at 828-817-4223. That's 817-4223. And email at durhamtalents@gmail.com. durhamtalents@gmail.com. Talk to you soon.